Hey guys, how's it going? Steve, Interglobal Comics here. So I hope everyone had a good holiday season. Kind of took a little bit of a break from kind of making videos just so I can deal with family stuff and enjoy the holidays. But we're gonna get back to it here. So I'll just kind of get right into it. Here we've got a pretty nice looking copy of Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, 106. Kind of like a controversial issue where Superman, or I guess Lois Lane wants to become black, and with Superman's help, she does it. This one is a good looking copy. I actually almost jumped on it because I think it would be an upgrade from I think the copy that I have right now. But for $75, seemed like it was a pretty good deal. It's a kind of a quirky book, but it seems to be pretty popular. Anytime I've ever gotten an extra copy of any of the countries and listed it for sale, it always sells really quick. So there's definitely people hunting these books. I know Robert Fordham, he's building this set, and I believe he's got to be pretty close to being done. I'm not sure which ones he's missing, but I think the hardest one is probably going to be the Egyptian. And I know he found a copy. I was able to get a copy. That'll probably be the tough one to grab. We've got a pretty low-grade looking copy of Spider-Man 101, the Brazilian, the RGE. So that's the second edition in Brazil after the E-Ball. $69. Probably not a bad sale for the seller. For the comic being in that rough of shape. You could probably find one a little bit cheaper if you can get somebody in Brazil to sell you one. Strangely, this one is being sold out of Germany, so I'm not sure. There must be a foreign collector over there that's selling out a few books. This is a PGX Brazilian 4.0 Spider-Man 13, the first appearance Mysterio. Sold. I think I looked this one up, but I can't quite remember. I think it sold for like $125. I don't think I put a picture of it in my pile here, but so $125, for 4.0, not really a great sale, but unfortunately when you slab books with PGX, nobody's going to pay more than a raw price for it. Nobody, they just have a kind of a bad reputation in the comic community. So if you're going to slab your foreigns, send it to CGC or send it to CBCS, whichever one you prefer. Probably not a good idea to send it to PGX because it's not gonna really pay off. Although I have no idea how much they charge to slab. And if they're charging you $5 to slab a book, I guess it's not that bad of a deal. But I doubt it's that cheap. So this was an Oguri from Brazil, a Golden Age Captain America with Bucky on the cover, a 2.5, and it was a blue label. Sold for $2.99, which seems pretty cheap for a slabbed blue label Brazilian Golden Age book. I feel like at one point, the Brazilian collectors were asking 300 plus, probably more like 500. So to see one sell on eBay for only $300 is a little surprising. I thought this would have gone for much more. Oh, so I did actually take the picture. So that Brazilian Spider-Man 13 sold for 100, so half price. So this was an Avengers 1 from Block Publishing. The asking price was $350, and the buyer accepted an offer of $200. So not a bad deal. Looks like a pretty decent copy. You can probably get it pressed and cleaned. I think one of these sold at the Heritage auction for around $600, somewhere around there. I don't remember it being particularly high grade. Not a bad sale and a pretty good buy for whoever bought that. Edge of Spider-Verse 2 from Mexico, the land variant, back up to $89 for a while. It seemed to have been floating around $50, which was surprising because at one point I think they were selling for around $300 on eBay. So those took a big hit, just like pretty much all modern comics have, of no matter what country. So $89, I think this book, deserves to have a decent price tag on it, although it's not as limited as the American version. I think I read someone saying that they printed basically 50-50, half of the regular cover and half of the variant cover. the land variant. So it's not it's not going to be as, it's probably more rare than the American land variant, just because they probably didn't print as many in Mexico, but it's not, the ratio of regular cover to land variant is going to be 50-50 in Mexico, as opposed to whatever ratio they have in America. So they keep pumping out these Mexican foil books, and they keep selling like hotcakes. So now they put out a New Mutants 98 Mexican foil edition. Looks good. Once again, the only problem I have is the whole cover's in English. I wish I'd be way more interested in these foil Mexican books if they would translate the cover into Spanish. It just doesn't even look like a foreign book. It looks like they're just basically selling you a foil facsimile of the American comic. Same thing with the Spider-Man 300. So it looks like a lot of people sent foreigns in for Todd McFarlane to sign, which is cool. It's cool to see, creators signing the foreign books. So this was a 9/8 signed Mexican foil 300. Went for $510. 31 bids too, so pretty strong action there. And here we have the original book from the actual 80s, the right time period when the Spider-Man 300 book came out. Sold for $50. So I'd much rather see this book signed by Todd McFarlane than the foil, but you can't, and look at the price difference, $510 versus $50. Kind of weird, but it is what it is. This is the Batman 227, pretty rare, hard to find book. Looks like in pretty nice condition. Sold for $370. I believe this was Scott McManus's book, but I'm not 100% sure. Fairly sure though, because I know he was selling one in the group. So $370. Pretty solid sale there. This went for the Planet Comics 71 Mexican edition. This went for $1,450. So actually very strong sale there. I don't know much about this Golden Age comics, so couldn't tell you what a Planet Comics 71 American edition would sell for, but I bet it's a lot if someone paid this much for the Mexican version. He was just kind of someone selling more Novedades books. Well, the top one's not Novedades. This is an editorial vid. Daredevil 168 sold for $50. Spider-Man 129 Mexican edition sold for sold for $102. The Spider-Man 50 with the blue cover I really like sold for $67. So pretty good, decent sales there. Some horror books sold. Chamber of Chills 20, $250. Chamber of Chills 23, 0.5. So there's probably a page missing or something like that. Sold for $522.89. So pretty strong sales there. Moving on to Spain. This is a Dolman 1. This was an Adam Hughes sketchbook with the Adam Hughes Wonder Woman cover. So this one I feel like got hot first of the Dolmans that I remember. And then the Dolman 16, the Death cover by Adam Hughes, got really hot also. That one seems to have kind of overtaken this book and sells for quite a bit more. This was actually my sale, Uncanny X-Men 141, 42. Sold as a set. These are the second editions in Spain. I believe I sold it for $60 for the two books, which is actually, in my opinion, a very strong sale because I think I was selling these for less than $30, or maybe selling them as a set for $40. Last time I was selling on eBay. So now that I'm selling on eBay again, I'm asking higher prices and just letting people make offers. I just think that's probably the best way to do things right now. And especially on the books. So I'm kind of starting to sell some of books that I really hadn't planned on selling out of my personal collection, but I've got a big goal I'm trying to meet this year, trying to buy kind of a lifelong grail that I've always wanted. So trying to save up as much money as possible for that. So got a few books up on eBay. Maybe I'll try and go through those later in the video. Real big sale for this Marvel Treasury Special, the Spanish editions, $3.49, and these you can still find pretty cheap on Spanish eBay and Todo Collection. And I think you could probably buy this set in decent condition for less than $100 on there. So not a bad idea if you wanted to flip some of those or just get them for a less expensive price. 7.0 Batman Adventures 12. Sold for $3.49. So I just had 4 of these sell recently. I think I was selling them for $90 a piece or $90 shipped, possibly. Can't remember. So and I would say most of those that I sold were at least right around 7.0 probably, or better. So those guys should probably maybe send theirs to CGC, get them pressed clean, send them off. Because interestingly enough, the 7.0 is the top of the census on this Batman Adventures 12, I believe, on the CGC census. So someone should probably send one in if they have a high grade copy, because 7.0 seems a little bit too low for a modern comic. This is the El Sol She-Hulk bikini cover, sold for almost $70. So this one has definitely gained some steam over the last year or so. I feel like this wasn't even really considered one of the key books in that El Sol set, and now it's selling for just as high as the other big keys that were selling for a decent amount. This is Marvel Preview 7, first appearance at Rocket Raccoon, sold for $95. Pretty decent looking copy from Spain. So here's a couple. I noticed quite a few German books selling for pretty inexpensive that looked in decent condition. So Fantastic Four number 4 from Germany sold for less than $40, which seems cheap, and then the Fantastic Four 49 German edition sold for less than $60. So those are pretty expensive sales. This was a Daredevil 1 reprint that they did, I believe, in 1999, and I think they did like 200 or 199 of each book were signed by Stan Lee, and they came with like a certificate of authentication and all that. So this one sold for $255. So I feel like not a bad deal. I've been wanting to buy one of these probably at some point signed by Stan Lee. Hoping to maybe find the Spider-Man or X-Men one. But we'll see what kind of comes out of the woodwork, I guess. A few more fairly inexpensive German sales. $69 for the first Kingpin, Spider-Man 50, and then Fantastic Four 67, first appearance of him, who ends up being Adam Warlock, sold for $50. This was another one of my sales. This was a Phantom Lady 17, the German reprint. Really the only foreign that I've seen that has this comic cover on it, and it reprints the whole interior in German. But it is like a current print. It's not old. It's a current book, and I can't remember I believe I sold it for $50. Kind of a cool book. If you're a Matt Baker fan, it's just kind of cool to see it all translated in German. And let's see, what is this? Oh, this is a Captain America 1, the German edition, signed by Joe Simon and Kirby, it says. So Jack Kirby signed this, apparently. I'm trying to look for the signatures. It's hard to see in the picture. The kind of interesting thing about this is that in Germany, they can't print the swastika, so they changed the swastikas in the background to this weird grid square, even on Hitler's armband. So cool book, $305. This is a modern reprint. It was printed in 1999, but definitely a cool book. So moving on to Italy, got Incredible Hulk 340, pretty nice looking copy, sold for $80, which is a decent price, like a decent sale, I should say. That's a good chunk of money for that seller for that book. And then somebody else had a bunch of keys they were selling. Hulk 340. There were a lot of best offers accepted for Spider-Man 361. Spider-Man 238, and Avenging Spider-Man 9. So it looks like this was probably all the same day. So this was probably all sold kind of like a combo deal, probably to the same buyer, which is a pretty good way to do it. And then we've got Spider-Man 129, 199, and then one that sold for $99. So it's kind of strange. I feel like some of these Italian and some of these like European books, they just haven't really gained much in value over the years as you would think they would. Because I think I paid $100 for my Spider-Man 129 from Italy, 5 years ago. So it's interesting that, I guess until some of these sellers start asking more money or stop selling them for the same prices year after year, the prices aren't going to really rise, or until kind of the stock in Italy becomes depleted, and then it's going to be just Americans fighting Americans for each other's books, basically. Spider-Man 300 and 301 says very fine near mint for $200. This was a pretty interesting sale. Star Wars 1 through 14. So it's Star Wars 1 through 14, which prints 1 through 28 of the U.S. version, sold for $770, which seems like a pretty astronomical amount of money. I feel like piecing together this 1 through 14 wouldn't be very hard, but I will say these do look like pretty high-grade copies. So, finding them in high grade could definitely be the challenge, but I don't think they're too hard to find. But hey, great sale for that seller. This is Journey to Mystery 83, which actually uses the stores, or Thor's, the image on the cover is Thor from Silver Surfer 4. So that kind of classic battle between Thor and the Silver Surfer. So that's what they used on the cover. They just used strictly that, part of the cover and whited out the background. This one kind of looks fairly kind of low grade copy, but it sold for $149. Marvel Premiere 15, first appearance of Iron Fist, sold for $160, which is kind of surprising. I don't know. I feel like that's probably about the same price as the American version costs. And this is kind of like a big Italian magazine, so maybe it's just high grade. Because Iron Fist is definitely pretty cold right now, I think. Star Wars Darth Vader 1, the six different Italian versions, all the different variants I guess they had in Italy. And I know some of these were exclusive to the European market, so I can understand how this would be a pretty hot item for Italian collectors. This sold for $299. And we've got now some auction results, which I'll say at every market report: do not sell your foreign comics at auction. You're going to lose money, or you're going to leave a lot of money on the table. We'll say that. Probably won't lose money, but you're going to leave money on the table for sure. So Spider-Man 194 looks like a pretty high-grade copy, sold for $46. Luke Cage Hero for Hire 1 looks like a really nice copy for a measly $30. And Spider-Man 361 for $40. So somebody made out, got some great high-grade looking books for very inexpensive. A 9.0 ASM 300 Italian edition sold for $451, which is a pretty respectable price, I would say. So that would probably, I guess, be kind of a benchmark when trying to price out these. I've got like a low grade one that I'm just, I thought it was gonna get at least an 8.0 or something like that when I submitted it, and it came back a 6.0. So I'm just more annoyed with it than anything, that I might just sell it at this point and just try and find like a nice raw copy rather than having the 6.0. But $451 for a 9.0, seems like a good sale and a good buy for the buyer. $119 for the Supergirl Legion of Superheroes 23, Adam Hughes, the Italian version. $135 Lois Lane 70. This is the first Silver Age Catwoman. This is like a little digest sized book. They're pretty fun book. $135 So here we've got different, some more of the Incredible Hulk 340s. One a 9.0 CGC copy, sold for 105, and a 8.0, well, they're calling it 8.0, but it looks raw, sold for $40 raw. So both those seem pretty low because we had that raw sale earlier that I showed that I think was $80, just a raw book. So here we had a raw one sell for 40 and a slabbed, I would say not, high grade 9.0 for 105. So both of those seem a little cheap. And then we've got this 8.0 300 that sold for $467. So we had the 9.0 that sold for less than the 8.0. But like I said, like with foreigns, you buy what's available. So maybe that person had already, the 9.0 had already sold, and the 8.0 was the only thing available. So we've got, moving on to French Canadian books. We've got the Incredible Hulk 181 and 180, sold for 184. But both of these were pulled from a bind. So hopefully the buyer realized that. 9.4 Ultimate Fallout 4. This is the French version from France, sold for less than 200. At one point, I think this book raw was selling for above $600. So it's a pretty big drop for this book. It was pretty hot there for a while. As was all Miles stuff, but I would think a 9.4 should be selling probably a little bit more than this. When they were selling for 600 plus raw not that long ago. And even worse was the raw book sold for $74. And these are really hard to find on the French market. They're not like a plentiful book. I feel like the Italian version's easier to find than this one. $74. That's pretty inexpensive. And I'll tell the story every time I see this book that I was buying these, when you could just go on French eBay and just fill your cart with them. You could just click plus and just get like 6 at a time. And it was, I think, $6 a piece. And then I would buy them and sell a few on eBay for about $25. So, hindsight, definitely wish I would have held on to more copies, but I still do have one nice copy I'm keeping for my personal collection. Werewolf by Night 32. This is like a little French digest book, sold for $52. Not the best looking cover, but it does contain Werewolf by Night 32 inside. This was a really nice copy of this Flash #1, which was Showcase 4 in Canada. I think the seller had this listed in the foreign comic group for $300, and I was thinking about sending him an offer for $250 just to see if he would take it, but I just kind of had my money tied up elsewhere. And now I'm really regretting that I didn't, because here he sold it on eBay for $222, which with the book in this condition, he should have just held out and sold it for more, because it was a really, really good looking copy. So that one definitely went pretty inexpensive, I think, for what it is. X-Men 1 in the Heritage French Canadian books, which prints giant size X-Men using a splash page as the cover, sold for $111. Superior Spider-Man 17 sold for $49. Spider-Man 129 French Canadian sold for $333. Superior Spider-Man, the French edition, that one. Vampirella 1 French edition sold for $250. This one looked like a pretty nice copy. I've got a decent copy that I think after seeing this, mine is going up on eBay probably. For $250, that's a pretty respectable price for these. I'm not a huge Vampirella fan. I like the cover, but trying to meet that goal this year, so I gotta sell some things to put some money aside. So we've got the Spider-Man 361 French Canadian edition went for $91. I believe that's the book that John Z won. Seemed pretty inexpensive. And then another French from France, Ultimate Fallout 4 variant went for $185. So now here we've got the Turkish edition. Of course, they came out with the Ultimate Fallout 4. They're doing basically every key book they're pumping out, and basically anything, the facsimile books that Marvel's putting out, they're gonna do their own version of it and do their own exclusive, like limited to 600 or 300. I've kind of said, like, and the guys in Turkey are like the nicest guys. Ilke, I think is his name, that runs this shop that does these. He's the nicest guy in the world. He'll help you out. But I am getting a little tired of all the Turkish variants. At some point I'm going to be like, I don't think I'm going to buy anymore because, they're not that expensive. But if you're going to just reprint every foreign comic, and the Mexicans are doing it too, it just never ends, So I'm going to kind of stick to the vintage books, I think, that were printed closer to the time of print. Although this Turkish book is the one that kind of started it all for the Turkish, the kind of the reprints that they were doing, but they did a really good job. This was actually an exclusive to Turkey cover, the Amazing Fantasy 15 Miles and Gwen book, which I really love the cover on this one. So that sold for $454 at one point, and this is signed and sketched. At one point, I think these were selling for close to $900. So pretty big drop, but still a great book and a respectable price. This is a Ghost Rider 1 from Spain. Sold for I looked it up. It was $120. Anyone looking for one? I got one listed on eBay right now for the same price, and I'm accepting offers as well. So just a little plug for myself. $93 on this Thailand Batman 423. I'm pretty sure I got a pretty high grade copy of this. So after seeing this sale, I might have to put it up on eBay for maybe $100 and see what kind of action I get. This was another one of my sales, Batman number 6, the Spanish edition, First Court of Owls. I believe I sold it for $20. Another one of mine, Daredevil 168, Norwegian. Sold this one. I believe I sold for like $45. It did have a kind of a nasty tape pool on it, and that was from me stupidly. First day I got it, set a bag and board on it. Didn't even realize that the bag and board had the sticky side out, and then it tore my cover, unfortunately. But it's off to a new home. This was the South African Wolverine 88, first Wolverine versus Deadpool. This definitely is a very hard to find, rare book. I didn't even know this book existed until it was offered for sale. I snagged it. Can't remember, and I think it was only like $10, but the guy I bought it from lived in England, so shipping, he used like a good shipper, which was expensive. So I think I ended up paying almost like $30 in shipping just for the one or two comics I got, or maybe even more in shipping. So a $10 book quickly turned and pretty much $40 I probably had into it. So I sold this for, I think I sold it for $50, right around there, $50 plus shipping. So didn't really make any money on it, but like I said, trying to save up some money. So had to let a few things go. Another one of mine, Daredevil 131, Danish edition, first appearance of Bullseye. I've had this one for quite a while. It was pretty nice condition. Sold this one for I think $60. Another one from Denmark that I sold. I think I sold this for $40, but it was in a little bit of lower grade. This one's not mine. This is the Star Wars one from Spain, the full kind of run, or not a full run, but quite a number of the issues. This is the Bergera. This is the single staple, pretty hard to find in good condition. So this, not a bad sale there. Another one of mine. This is the Spanish edition, which just came out in like 2019. And this one, I believe, sold for around $30. Another one of my sales. This is the German non-canon Spider-Man. Kind of caused some controversy recently, but this was kind of like, I think, the cease and desist, where basically the guy in Germany was told not to sell them anymore, just since La Mole was coming out with their own version of it. But he sold a few more. This one I just took a best offer at $70, and I'm happy with that. I paid, I think, $30 to get it, here and shipped. So for 120 or for $70, I was happy. This was an extra copy, so I didn't technically need it. This is a Hulk 340 from Denmark with the pink background, sold for $104. Just a cool looking book with that pink background. So this was so at first I saw these, I was like, oh, holy crap, that AF-15 for Portugal sold for $500, and I was like, man, that's a lot of money, because I got a pretty nice copy. But then I saw that it was best offer accepted, and they sold it pretty inexpensive, actually. Sold it for $143. They definitely could have held out probably for more money, because I sold one, I think, for right around $200. It was a decent condition. And then below that one, you have the Amazing Fantasy 15, the #1, which was the Ditko original art that he had created, which was replaced by what we now know as the AF-15 cover. But this was the original art that he wanted to use, and that one sold for $199. This was the Justice League 1 from Brazil. Terrible condition. Writing all over the cover, clipped corner, looks like the cover's splits, rusty staples. So a pretty rough copy of a kind of a grail book, but sold for $50. And I think that is it. So yeah, like I said, I'm starting to sell again on eBay. So if you want to check out what I've got for sale, I've definitely put higher prices on eBay than I normally sell my books for, either on Facebook or on Instagram. But feel free to shoot me some offers. Like I said, I've got them up on those high prices just because I really don't have an interest in selling them, and I do have an interest in selling them, but I'm not gonna let them go cheap, because a lot of those are like personal collection books. But I'm willing to kind of wheel and deal on them, just because I do. I do have a goal this year. My goal is to hopefully by the end of the year be able to pick up a X-Men 1, low grade copy, but an American X-Men 1. So we'll see what happens. All right. So, well, I was going to go through what I have on eBay, but eBay doesn't run side scroll, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right, well, you guys have a good night, and we'll do another video hopefully soon. All right, have a good one. Bye.